Hi, it's your friendly neighborhood bone collector Zero here. Did you miss me? It's been 6 months since the last time I uploaded a video on here, so that's great. Doing very good with the whole YouTube thing. But anyways, welcome to Bone to Pick, the series where I answer your bone cleaning, collecting, and other dead things related questions. If you're here, you probably know me from the Clock app, which means you might know what Bone to Pick is already. As I just described, I will do little educational videos on vulture culture related topics, bone cleaning, processing, stuff like that, how to get them, what to do with them, etc. With that, I wanted to come onto YouTube and do it in a slightly different order and format. These will be longer, they will be more filled out, I guess, and when it comes to the actual cleaning methods, I would like to be able to actually, as much as YouTube will let me get away with it, show the process. I can't really do that on TikTok because of their guidelines, so I'd like to do that here. With that being said, I know most people want like the cleaning and processing tutorials. I know. I promise I will do my best to get around to them. I am actually about to start college again, so being able to go out collect things is going to be a little tight. I do have some old photos and videos back from, I don't know, like 2020, 2021 of a couple processes I did. So I am hoping I will be able to show those at the very least. If you are here looking for cleaning tutorials, I promise I'm going to try to get around to it. Leave me a comment. I have one planned. The first one will be like a general breakdown of each one. It's not really going to show anything. It's just going to be a, hey, this is what this process, it's kind of like an iceberg video, I guess. Kind of like, oh, here's this, here's a description, here's this, here's a description, so forth and so on. And then I will be doing like a, for example, maceration 101, oxidation 101, mummification, what you get the idea. So that's kind of what I have planned for that. So if you're interested in that, please leave me a comment down below. If you have something that's creepy related that is not bone cleaning, also leave me a comment. I have a book of ideas, but I would always love to know what you guys want to see. Talking too much, need a sip of coffee. But yes, so without me continuing to ramble on and on and on, as I mentioned, for the first episode of Bone to Pick YouTube edition, I would like to do a intro as to what even is vulture culture. A lot of people don't know what that term means when they first see it, so I get asked this question a lot, and I figured that would be the perfect intro into this series. So, not to be confused with a culture vulture, please stop correcting me in my comments. This is not a culture vulture. This is vulture culture. It's a community and hobby focusing on the collection, processing, and preservation of animal remains. As the name vulture implies, these are typically already found past, although depending on who you ask, and there is some wiggle room here depending on who you're asking about vulture culture, there is some leniency for like taxidermy that's been gifted to people, or if it's bought, as well as it's sometimes considered just the general collection of animal-related oddities. The term came about online somewhere in the 2010s, but I was trying to find like the specific pinpoint of when it came about, and I couldn't find a lead. So if you know exactly when it started to be used, please let me know, because it's been bothering me that I can't find it. So if you've seen me, if you've seen my content before, you've probably seen my collection. I have a decent collection of animal-related oddities, and the majority of them would be considered to be vulture culture items, because I found them out on walks, they were scavenged from roadsides, they were nothing that I personally hunted or took, and a lot of them were not hunter byproduct. However, this is where the gray area of vulture culture comes in, because some of my collection is a byproduct of hunting. I found a hunter's dump spot. I know how those animals were taken. The fox mount that I have, I believe, was hunted, a couple things like that. So that becomes that kind of gray area of, well, you didn't take it, and like the stuff I found at the hunter's dump spot, you found past, but does that count? Because we know how it was taken. So that's an example of that gray area, which can cause a lot of controversy. And oh boy, can vulture culture lead to some controversy. Just posting it, I have been called Jeffrey Dahmer more times than I would really care to. You very frequently get compared to a serial unaliver if you post vulture culture content, partially because people are not fully educated on the subject, and we'll get into that later. But yes, there is some, let's call it, controversy with vulture culture and the appeal of it. It causes a lot of people to kind of question the morals and ethics of it, in part because of, well, how did you source it? How did you get it? Are you being honest about how you got these things? And some people think it's disrespectful to the animal because it's a disruption of the natural ecology. You were taking a dead thing you found in the forest, which some people would argue belongs to the forest. And I see nothing wrong with that take, honestly. It lived its whole life there. You can honestly say that it probably deserves to be there. However, as a vulture myself, whenever I collect and process these animals, it is seen, for me personally, as a way to memorialize the animal and its life, as a way to continue remembering them. I think they're beautiful, personally. I think beauty does not end after passing. And so I like to have them for myself, and during the processing, I try to do it in the most respectful way possible. Will I make silly videos? Yes, but the actual processing of the animal, I regard very highly. To bring up the point of, oh, well, you're taking food from scavengers, and this can be a good point. Personally, whenever I do certain processes, I try to remove as much meat and organ as possible and then leave it outside for the scavengers. Anything that I am not going to be using, I do try to return to nature because it's of no use to me, and I don't want to just throw it away and have it go to waste whenever it was going to feed some sort of scavenger in the first place. There's also a concern of legality to collecting, and this is a very valid concern. I am not knocking anybody for being worried about this. So, if you are interested in taking part in vulture culture and the collecting of deceased animals, please, 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 please check the laws in your state and in your city, county, town, whatever. They can vary. Also, in your country, there can be federal laws that might not be mentioned in your state or small area laws. For example, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which nobody seems to know about, most birds you're not supposed to take anything from, and that is a federal law spanning actually over a couple countries. So no birds. But on the other hand, my state is fairly lax when it comes to just picking up skulls and stuff like that. Some areas require a scavenger's license, which you can apply for to be able to collect roadkill. And there are some states where it's to the point of, like, you can't even pick up, like, a shed antler from a deer without being fined. So just be aware of that. Check your laws, check your area. I'm not a legal expert. Don't ask me what the laws are in your state. I have no idea. But there's also the concern of protected animals and things like that. Before anybody brings it up, it's just an issue of the game wardens and the officials cannot determine where you actually got these things from. You can say, oh, well, I found it dead. Sure, you might have, but you might have also, hit a little pew-pew and then found it a few weeks later. So that's the only reason why it's a concern. So please, just check your laws. If you see me looking off to the side, sorry, once again, I have a script. I try to keep up with that. But if you've made it this far into the video, what if you hit a little like button? Or a dislike button if you think I'm weird. Or maybe you follow me in case you want more creepy and weird content. Just say. Okay. Anyways, with the confusing legal reasons why people don't necessarily agree with vulture culture stuff out of the way, let's discuss why in the world people would even actually want to pick up this hobby, you know, I'm sitting here being like, yeah, you should do it, but let's get into the why. I will be the first to say, it can be gross. To most people, they will think you are very weird. The people at my job, it's really funny because they'll be like, so what'd you do this weekend? And then I'll just be like, oh yeah, no, I just was processing this thing. Or, oh yeah, I got new decoration. It was a skull. And people at my job are just like, that's only normal coming from you. Anybody else, I'd be concerned. So, you know, you will probably, depending on who you're around, become the weird one. Just saying. But there are, even given all that I've previously said, several reasons why somebody would want to get into vulture culture in the first place. A lot of people have a fascination with death and the process of decay. It's why some people go into forensics. They just think the science behind it is super cool. Also, a lot of people tend to enjoy dark aesthetics, and skulls, bones, and taxidermy can all suit that as decor or even jewelry. Skulls, bones, pinned insects, taxidermy, wet specimens, they can all be really interesting statement pieces, and well-done pieces can last for years if taken care of. This here is Amadeus. This was the first skull ever in my collection, and I got this guy like 14 years ago. I found him, cleaned him up a little bit, and he's been in my collection ever since, even given that I processed him incorrectly. So yeah, they can hold up for a really long time if taken care of in the right way. Another benefit of this hobby is that given that you can process your own specimens, it actually tends to be a fairly cheap hobby. Don't get me wrong, if you were buying pieces, it can definitely rack up in the money department. There are some pieces that go for a lot, especially when you get into like exotics and stuff like that. But just general stuff that you can find outside of your own home, they tend to be fairly inexpensive if you want to process them yourself. And a lot of the things you need to process, you might already have in your own house. Many of the cleaning methods just require time, space, water, and some household ingredients, shall we say. You do dish soap for degreasing, you do hydrogen peroxide for whitening, you can also use ammonia. A lot of these things tend to be fairly inexpensive. I mean, hydrogen peroxide, at least where I'm at, typically goes like for $1 for a decent sized bottle. And then water, I'm hopeful you have in your house. No judgment if you don't. I would hope you have it, or access to it at the very least. As I mentioned, I will be doing more in-depth on the cleaning if you're curious as to how those things will be used. So just sit tight for that if you're interested in it. People also enjoy making art out of the bones and such, and some people do some really incredible work with it. A mutual of mine on TikTok is ClosetOfSkeletons, and they do some of the most incredible bone jewelry that you will ever see, and everything they source, they get themselves and process themselves through Vulture culture practices. I will link their page and their shop down below if you want to go check them out. I am hoping to get one of their pieces soon. They just did a earring collection, so super cool stuff. I love their work. They are very educational, and they also have, from what I've seen, very good ethics. And speaking of creators, let's have a word from today's sponsor, Zero's Curio Cabinet. This is a small oddity shop. There is no sponsor. It's me. It's my oddity shop. I have an oddity shop called Zero's Curio Cabinet. Funny, it's the same name as the channel. And all of my oddities are scavenged and found myself. So if you wanna check that out, just saying, I'd really appreciate it. Like, look at this little guy. This is a cicada molt with some flowers and some lichen and some. I got bones too. I got lots of bones for you. So yeah, sorry for my rambling. That is vulture culture. Hope it clears it up about what this weird little hobby is. I don't know what to tell you. I like collecting bones. Dude, what do you want me to say? I like bones, okay? Anyways, thank you so much for joining me for my first YouTube rendition of Bone to Pick. If you want more content about the creepy and the macabre, and if you want bone processing tutorials and you want to know more about how to add some dead things to your collection, yeah, maybe stick around, tap the subscribe button, maybe give me a little thumbs up, little like. I'd appreciate it. Maybe leave me a comment letting me know what you want me to talk about. That would always be great. Maybe if this video does well and gets, I don't know, like 100 likes, I'll do bone ASMR or something stupid like that. I'd like to make it a point to try to upload maybe once a month. Like I said, I'm about to start college again, so my schedule might get a little tight, especially because I do work pretty much full time as well. But I'm gonna do my best. I would like to make this a thing, especially with possibly the downfall of the clock app. And I do work almost full time, if not full time, so schedule might be a little tight, but I will do my best. I will try to be more consistent with this, maybe not every 6 months. So wish me luck with that. But with that, stay safe, happy collecting, check your laws, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!